Yo, and what is going on, YouTube, and welcome back for another Oathbreaker Deck Tech. Now, if you guys are interested in the Oathbreaker format, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe if you have not already. If you guys are interested in MagiKids, the official charity of the Oathbreaker team, make sure to check out that link down in the description below. If you're interested in weird card playmats or maybe Oathbreaker playmats, I'm gonna try to have one of those for the next video. Make sure to leave a comment in the description below, and I'll try to follow up with you guys on how you can get that ordered. But guys, let's jump right on into this video. Now, the new Planeswalker from Core 2020, Yanling, Sky Dancer, Mythic Rare, 1 blue, with 2 loyalty. Her following abilities are her +2 until the next turn, up to 1 target creature gets -2/-0 and loses flying. Her -3 creates a 4/4 blue elemental bird token with flying. Her -8 ability, her ultimate ability, we get an emblem with islands you control have tap and draw a card. Now, her signature spell speaks volumes to kind of the deck that this is going to play out to be, and that's going to be Notorious Throng. Now, this is kind of an older card. It's a tribal sorcery for rogues, 3 in a blue, or you can cast it for its prowl cost for 5 in a blue. I'll get to that later, where you get to put X 1/1 black fairy rogue creature tokens with flying into play, where X is the damage dealt to your opponents this turn. If Notorious Throng's prowl cost was paid, we get to take an extra turn. So if we cast this, we have our rogues that were out, our fairy rogue creatures. If they deal damage to a player, we can cast this for its prowl cost, and we get to take an extra turn after this one, and we get all of the tokens off of its cost. Now, let's get right into this deck. So we're going to lean really hard into the fairy rogue kind of tribal route, and fairies is kind of interesting. This is something I've never really done, and it's been extremely fun to play, and it's been really good as well in all the games that I've tested it with so far. So the first couple creatures, Fairy Seer, we get some scry effects, Quickling, Spell Stutter Sprite, Cloud of Fairies. They're all coming in as kind of small. Quickling, we bounce permanents to our hand. Spell Stutter Sprite, we get kind of a countering effect off the number of creatures. Cloud of Fairies basically cast for free since we get to untap our lands. Vendilion Click is really handy. I personally like to cast it targeting myself just to kind of get rid of cards that usually don't have any sort of value to me. Pestermite is nice because we can untap a permanent that we have. Usually a Mana Dork is kind of what I'm doing here. Sprite Noble is a lord for flying creatures, get +0/+1. We can also tap it to give it an additional +0/+1. Scion of Una is just a straight up lord. Fairy creatures get +1/+1, and other fairies we control have Shroud. So I think that's very good. Glenalendra Pranksters. Whenever we play a spell during an opponent's turn, we can bounce a creature we control to our hand. Glenalendra Archmage. She doesn't need much of an introduction, but I really like her just because we could sack her to kind of keep our opponents off of casting their own planeswalkers or signature spells. The Fairy Harbinger. This one kind of just tutors up a fairy. More often than not, I'm going to be tutoring for Scion of Una just to get that lord out into play. Fairy Swarm, her power and toughness is equal to the number of blue permanents that we control. Now, since the fairies are relatively weak, we need something to really make them just super overpowered. And guys, Sword of Sinew and Steel, this card, I think, for Oathbreaker is extremely good. When the equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, we get to destroy up to 1 target planeswalker and 1 target artifact. That is extremely good. Knock out a Mind Stone or a Mox Opal and destroy their planeswalker. Always seems very good, and you don't have to target the same player that you're the same player. Sword of Truth and Justice. When equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, we get to put a +1/+1 counter on the creature we control, and then we get to proliferate. So we get even closer to that Mu Yanling ultimate. And guys, I gotta say one thing about the ultimate with Mu Yanling. I do not think people fear her ultimate enough. I've gotten to ultimate her multiple times. I'm not sure if it's just because she gets there so quickly. I'm not really sure, but just being able to tap a blue on other people's end step or in response to draw a card and try to find an answer is always very, very good. Sword of Body and Mind. We get +2/+2 in pro green and blue. When we deal damage to a player, we get a 2/2 wolf creature token, and our opponent's mill 10 cards. I'm probably going to switch this out for either the Jite or Fire and Ice. Basilisk Collar. This I really like just because the lifelink. This deck is, the creatures kind of come out relatively weak, so we are a little susceptible to things, but giving it Death Touch and lifelink I think is very, very good. Vanquisher's Banner. This is kind of just an all-around good card for any sort of tribal deck. Coat of Arms is how this deck kind of gets away from itself, especially with the Notorious Throng. Those fairy rogue creatures are only coming in as 1/1s, and if we can give them +1/+1 for each other creature on the field that shares at least one creature type with it, it is very, very powerful. Those 1/1s can come in and they can almost instantly be 8/8s with flying. Extraplanar Lens, because you can see I'm playing all snow-covered islands, just because I've gotten so many from Modern Horizons, but it also is kind of spiky since we'll be the only one tapping islands for 2 mana. Sapphire Medallion, just to make our spells a little cheaper. Sky Diamond, Mind Stone, Prismatic Lens. These are all just kind of mana dorks in the early game just to kind of help us ramp up. Pognify is kind of the only identified removal in the deck. Force of Negation, counterspell. Fairy Trickery, this is kind of a counter target non-fairy spell. This is just added for flavor. Counterspell, Mana Leak, Spell Pierce. Of course, we could add cards like Mana Leak, Mana Drain, Force of Will, but I kind of felt like those kind of really don't fit this deck, although they are extremely, extremely powerful, and you certainly could add them. I just felt like this one kind of lended itself to more of like budget-friendly counter spells. Distant Melody, Ponder, Brainstorm, these are all kind of card draw engines. Favorable Winds, kind of a lord for flying creatures. We also have Rhystic Study because I'm definitely going to make them pay 1 or I'm going to get to draw a card. And Back to Basics, a little bit of spicy enchantment kind of just on the back end since we're playing primarily all basic lands. But I do have to note, depending on your play group, this is either really good or kind of a dead card in your hand. So more often than not, when I cast Vendilion Click, this is a card I ditch, or Force of Negation, this is a card I exile. Just one thing to note, it's one of those cards that's either hit and miss. It's probably something I could change based on the last couple weeks. But guys, that's going to be it for this Oathbreaker Deck Tech. If you guys are excited about the Oathbreaker format, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. If you have any decks you'd like to see in the future, I am working on a Sarah the Benevolent and a Ren and 6 deck, and I'm hoping to have those out kind of within the next week here. But I also have the return of the Budget Breaker series with a Nissa Who Shakes the World and the Nahiri Storm of Stone. So really getting excited for those. But guys, as always, what else are you going to do? Hit that like and subscribe button. I'll check you guys later.